Okay, so we look at the first scene, Act 1, Scene 1. You have Flavius and Marulus. Okay, the spelling is Marulus, but the pronunciation, as far as I know, as I was taught, is Marulus. They are two senators in Rome. They are aristocratic people. They are big people. Okay. And you have some common people on the stage, mostly working class people, people who work with their hands and earn their bread. Okay. You must remember that Rome was a society, ancient Greece, ancient Rome, the majority of the population were slaves. Okay. More than 70% at any given time. And then you had a very large class of people, you minus 70, and out of the remaining 30, 20% at least, 20 to 25% were people who were known as plebeians. That is, they were ordinary people, either they did agriculture, and if there was a war, those who did agriculture, they also fought in the Roman army, in the legions. Okay. Or you had physicians and various other people, carpenters, cobblers, construction workers, all kinds of people. Okay. They were the plebeians. And there was a very small class of people, 5 to 10%. Even 10 was very rare. Usually it was closer to 5, sometimes even below 5. They were people who belonged to certain families who had become very powerful and rich and landed during the course of history. They were known as the Patricians. And the senators, the people who ruled Rome, they were all patricians. Okay, they were all from a patrician background. And even Julius Caesar, whether it's Julius Caesar or Brutus or Cassius or Casca or any of them, Antony, Mark Antony, they were all patricians. And even Flavius and Marulus are patricians. And the patricians had a lot of contempt for the plebeians. Okay. ഈ കരങ്ങളാൽ അന്നം തേടുന്ന ആൾക്കാരോട് ഒരു പുച്ഛമുണ്ടായിരുന്നു ഈ നാടുവാഴികൾക്ക്. They looked at them with a lot of contempt and disdain. So that is what you see in this scene. But though in society we are taught to accept inequality, we learn to adjust with it and so on. One thing that you must always remember throughout history is that wherever there is hierarchy, wherever there is illogical inequality, there will always be an undercurrent, ഒരു അടിയൊഴുക്ക് പോലെ റെബല്യൻ ഉണ്ടാവും. ഓക്കെ, അത് വിപ്ലവമായേക്കണം എന്നില്ല, പക്ഷെ എപ്പോഴും ഒരു ആ അതോറിറ്റീനോടുള്ള ഒരു വെറുപ്പ്, അവർക്കെതിരെ ഉള്ള ഒരു റെബല്യൻ, അതിൻ്റെ ഒരു അടിയൊഴുക്ക് ചെറിയ തോതിലെങ്കിലും എപ്പോഴും ഉണ്ടാവും. That is another thing that we see in this Act 1, Scene 1. So just keep these things in mind when we look at the act. I'm not going to do line by line, but basically at the beginning of this scene, these senators, Flavius and Marulus, they are asking these people, why are you out on the street without a uniform? You are not supposed to do that except on a holiday. Okay. Otherwise, you are supposed to, if you are a carpenter, you must have a leather apron. You must have a ruler, to measure whatever you're going to cut and, frame and plane and all those things that carpenters do. If you're a cobbler, you must have an anvil and all those, the instruments used in shoemaking, in footwear making. Okay. They are questioning these people. And, but as I told you, there is always an undercurrent. There's always rebellion. Wherever there is authority, there is rebellion. That doesn't change. That is human nature. And in a certain sense, it's essential also, because authority without facing rebellion will sooner or later degenerate into abuse and fascism. Whether it is in a marriage or in a parent-child relationship or a husband-wife relationship or a teacher-student relationship or a state government or central government or any other form of rule, if there isn't an undercurrent of questioning and rebellion and vigilance, it will degenerate. There's no doubt about it. So these people, they are making fun of these senators. They can't do it directly. But then Shakespeare, Shakespeare's audience, there were aristocrats and so on. And sometimes there was the queen herself, and later on the king himself. He had to satisfy these people in the galleries. But then a large part of the audience were working class people who used to work till the late afternoon or early afternoon, say around 2 o'clock. And then it was off for them. They would work from fairly early in the morning till around 2, and then the rest of the day they were free till the next day by and large. And that was the time that they used to come to these theaters, Globe and Blackfriars and all these places, and pay ticket money and watch the plays. And it was a chill out time for them. There used to be beer available, people selling ale. It was known as ale. Ale used to be sold, among the audience. People selling ale, bottles of ale used to go around selling ale to the audience. Eatables were available. And these people didn't have any sitting space. They had no seats. They used to stand and watch the plays. And the stage used to project from a background into the audience. So the stage was like a peninsula. It was surrounded by the audience on three sides. And the audience that surrounded it very closely was this working class audience. So Shakespeare had to satisfy them. He had to give them something to laugh, because otherwise they would not pay out of their hard-earned money and buy tickets and come and watch his plays. That is why even in his tragic plays, there is a comic relief sequence. And there were some actors in Shakespeare's time. Remember, Shakespeare began his theatre career as an actor. He was a junior actor. Then he became a senior actor who was co-writing plays along with the playwright who was producing them. Then he became a playwright. And then he became a theatre shareholder and, majority share owner in a theatre. That is how, and a playwright. Okay, that was at a later stage, but he never lost his actor spirit. That is what made him so successful. And so there used to be these comedy stars. There was one person called Will Kemp. Okay, Willkempe. Okay. Will Kemp was like, like if you take an equivalent from Malayalam films, he was like Jagadi of the older days or Suraj Venyaramudu of today, a comedy star. People wanted him because they wanted to laugh, they wanted to relax. And many of these comic relief scenes were written in the tragedies were written for Will Kemp. The jokes, the fooling around, it was all, so that Will Kemp could be brought into the play and the audience would laugh and they would pay ticket money and come again to laugh once again. Okay. And so these workers, they are playing with words and they are fooling around with this authority. ഈ മസിൽ പിടിച്ചിങ്ങ് വീർത്ത് അഹങ്കാരത്തോടെ പുച്ഛത്തോടെ വീർത്ത് നിൽക്കുന്ന രണ്ട് സെനറ്റേഴ്സ് ഉണ്ട്, ഫ്ലേവിയസും മെറോലസും. അവരുടെ ഗ്യാസ് ചെറുതായിട്ടൊന്ന് കുത്തി പുറത്ത് വിടാൻ വേണ്ടിയാണ് ഈ കോബ്ലറും കാർപ്പൻറ്ററും ആൾക്കാരും ഒക്കെ വരുന്നത്. സോ ദേ ആർ പ്ലേയിങ് വിത്ത് വേർഡ്സ്, he says, truly sir, in respect of a fine workman, I am but, as you would say, a cobbler എന്നൊക്കെയാണ് കേട്ടോ. ഇങ്ങനെ ആക്കി സംസാരിക്കുക എന്നില്ലേ, that is what they are doing. And these these senators, they are patricians. Okay, they are getting triggered, they are getting provoked, and these people are enjoying it. That is the kind of atmosphere that is being created. But then this was a realistic kind of scene. You could not say that these people were breaking class barriers or costume barriers, so this could not be censored. But then the working class people got the right message which they wanted for them to enjoy and laugh, and the ruling class people got the message which they wanted. That was Shakespeare's success. Yes, I am very much here. I just went briefly to CSA because I thought I would do a little bit when giving you time to listen to the next clip. So here Flavius is here. And he sees that, in Rome, we don't know much about ancient Rome. There isn't so much of detail. But what Shakespeare normally does, he uses a lot of historical sources. He uses history in his plays. But Shakespeare had a very clear political agenda. He was a neo-feudal, you can say, in the sense that he believed in kingship. He believed in the divine right of kingship. And during Shakespeare's times, you could be killed for not believing such a thing, because in any case, you couldn't perform theater that questioned ruling values. And the ruling values of Shakespeare's England was that the queen, it was Queen Elizabeth the First in the beginning, or the king, King James the First, they ruled by divine right. Okay. They were made queen or made king by God, and nobody could question that. And theater had to be performed with the approval of the monarch. That is, with the approval of the queen or the king. Initially, the queen herself used to personally go through every play, to watch every play, actually, not read, but watch every play and pass it if she found it okay. Then, the number of plays being produced became large in number. So you had somebody specifically appointed for this purpose, a very senior royal noble in the court, who was known as the Master of Revels. Okay, Master of Revels, Revels. So the Master of Revels had to license every single play. So, if you describe it in modern terms, it is very strict censorship. So, whatever history, whatever exploration, even if it is Roman history or Danish history, as it is in Hamlet, okay, which is the longest Shakespeare play and the longest of the four great tragedies, or it might be Italian stories like Merchant of Venice and Othello, or Greek stories like Pericles and Titus Andronicus, or Roman stories, or whatever. Nothing in the play was allowed to suggest ideas which were against the ruling ideas. And another thing was, class distinctions were very strong in those days, and class distinctions were very visible. It's like the police department today. You can make out the rank of a policeman, whether he is an ordinary, what used to be called constable, but now is called civil police officer, or an ASI, or an SI, or a CI, or a ASP, or DYSP, or SP, or IG. Every single thing can be made out from the uniform, from certain, stars or stripes or whatever signs in the uniform. It's all there. It's very visible. We may not know about it, but policemen and policewomen know about it very clearly. They know immediately. They recognize it by instinct. In the Julius Caesar of Shakespeare and in the England of Shakespeare's day, all the people in the land, they had to be recognizable by their dress. In fact, under the licensing law, which controlled the production of plays, there was a rule which said that you cannot present a character who is working class, who is not wearing a working class dress. You can't show a working class character in a middle class dress or an upper class dress. Okay. There were very strict rules against that. Even in a play, you couldn't do such things. That was the kind of class rigidity, class hierarchy, and rigidity of hierarchy and visibility of hierarchy that was maintained in those times. So these people, when Flavius and Marollus, when they come out onto the street, they see all these workers, and these workers are not in their uniform, From their speech, from their mannerisms and so on, you can make out that they are working class people, that they are carpenters and cobblers and all that. They are not white collar people. They are not physicians. They are not soothsayers or astrologers. They are not nobles. They are not senators. They are not even soldiers, but they are carpenters and cobblers and other people who work with their hands and various material. Okay. And that is why these two, as I said, patrician senators, they begin to get very angry and very insecure. And they are scolding them. And this play begins with that, Flavius says, hence, home you idle creatures. Hence എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഇറങ്ങി പോടാ എന്നുള്ളതാണ്. Okay. If I had to produce this play in Malayalam and I have a Flavius coming on stage and saying hence, the equivalent would be Irangi Poda. Okay. That is what you must remember at the opening of this play.